It's a lot to take in at first. I started when I was 23, 24 years old. So
What was that like?
I danced professionally. I think that's something's missing in my life. Here we are 6 years later.
One of the controversial topic that recently came up.
I felt lost at that time. Don't really compare myself to others. People do get brainwashed just because.
Cheers.
Years.
Cheers.
Cheers. Ding. I never tried Moosehead before.
Never?
No, I only had Budweiser and that's it.
That's funny. Yeah, these two are my favorite. Used to be my favorite brand, Molson and Moosehead. Then I switched to draft breweries.
Oh, really?
There's a bunch of them around, right? So you have London Brewery, and then
Yes.
you do have Anderson,
Anderson, yes.
Powerhouse,
Powerhouse, yes.
and then Forked River.
Oh, okay. No, I don't think I
Yeah,
know
so
that one.
they're behind us. So they ran a special promo for Palisade.
Oh.
So they brew a beer dedicated to Palisade because it's their
Nice.
anniversary or something.
Ah.
Yeah, that was my typical go-to.
Go-to.
And I always make fun, you just keep putting it here until they say, all right, we'll sponsor your.
Yeah.
But anyways, so last Friday was.
Yes.
Was my first drag show. I mean, I've never seen it before.
Oh, wow. And did you like it?
It was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was very interesting. Some of those shows were really spooky.
Yes.
Especially the ballet ones were so I don't know, it just catches your attention so much. You just get involved.
Yes, yeah.
You just
The one Friday, it was more of a Halloween theme, so to speak. It was your first time, like you said, so it's a lot to take in at first. But yes, I do host shows every single month over there. We do have a monthly kind of theme at the rec room. So the theme that you saw last month was a Halloween theme.
interesting.
Yes.
So when did you get into this? How old were you? Did you see something? What brought you into it, and when did you get into this?
Oh my goodness. I started. When did I start? I started when I was 23, 24 years old. So kind of pretty late in the game. But at the first time, I was really young. I danced professionally back then. So I did hip hop and contemporary as well. But I felt like something was missing in my life. And someone introduced me to RuPaul's Drag Race, and I didn't know what that was. I thought it was, drag racing, like the cars. But then I started watching. The first season was season 5. That was my first season that I watched with Alyssa Edwards, one of my favorite drag queens ever. And then I was like, I think that's something's missing in my life. I want to be like them. I think that looks very creative based on the makeup artistry and what they portray within the LGBTQ plus community. And then I just try it out on Halloween because typical people they start drag on Halloween day. So I did that and I was like, you know what, this feels very correct. And then after that here we are 6 years later.
Interesting. So you saw the show. It was a TV show, right?
Yes.
Season 5. You were watching it. You thought it's interesting. I wanted to give it a shot. So for the next Halloween, you dresses up, and you like it. You like the whole feel of it.
Yeah, it felt very empowering, and I felt very confident because out of drag, my name is Johnny out of drag, and I'm a very I'm not gonna say no confidence, but very laid back, very chill, minding my own business. I do have a sense of insecurities as well, so I would say a little bit not confident in my own skin. But once you put the drag, the makeup, the hair, the costume, and dancing to your own music, and it feels very amazing and it feels very different for sure. But it feels like drag is an armor for you. I feel very invincible and very powerful, and no one can stop me.
Interesting, and it's you don't. So before this, you were just holding back, and but you were a dancer before that too.
Yes,
You
yes.
need confidence to be a dancer too, right?
It is. I kind of just fake it, but I always compare myself to other dancers, and I was like, whoa, this feels very odd. I don't really compare myself to others, but I think at a certain age, you do compare yourself to other people, especially your coworkers. But like, yeah, I didn't feel right. I just felt very small when I'm not confident. Like, and then especially like being gay and being Asian as well, there's just a lot of negatives to that. So that's why I put myself in a little box, trying to hide myself in the corner, kind of thing.
Got it. So you're Asian. I didn't know that.
Yes, Asian. Yes.
So what's your background? Yeah.
Cambodian and part Chinese.
Part Chinese, part Cambodian.
Yes.
So did you move here by yourself, or your parents moved here first, and then you came along with them?
Yes. So my parents moved here by themselves. They moved from Cambodia. Long story short, there was a war there that happened, and then once the war was over, they moved. Actually, here in London, that was the first city that
no
they
way.
moved to. And then I was born in Montreal, Quebec, and then yeah, here we are in London, back again here.
Interesting. You speak French?
I forgot the language. I used to
Alright,
speak.
yeah.
Funny enough, I used to speak very fluent French when I was a kid, and my parents did not understand a word that I was saying. So I was in kindergarten. I spoke French, and they're like, you know what? Let's bring him to another school that speaks only English. But I had to do kindergarten again, for some reason. So after I did kindergarten French, I had to go to another kindergarten school to speak English. So then I just spoke English, but then unfortunately I forgot the French language, and all I did was speak English, and then my parents understood me or what I was saying.
Interesting. So you have to learn French when you're in Quebec. Right?
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
So you moved here. Did you ever travel back to Cambodia since you came here?
I never been to Cambodia actually.
Okay,
I
interesting.
really want to go. It looks very amazing and very beautiful. But hopefully one day.
A lot of green, I assume, right?
A lot of green.
Yes, and like
Nature. Nature.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes. A lot of greenery. That's where I'm from as well. So I really want to visit there one day.
What's do you know the language they speak over there? In Cambodia?
So in Cambodian, it's Khmer.
Khmer.
Yes. So or you can say Cambodian as well, but that's the main language.
Did you pick up that from your parents? Like, can you speak Khmer?
Just a tiny bit.
Could you survive? Like, if you were in Cambodia?
I need maybe a dictionary or something.
Yeah.
I need my mom there too.
Fair enough. So, when did you realize? Okay, so I mean, Cambodia. I'm gonna assume I'm also from Asia. I'm from India, right?
Oh yes.
So the parents are very conservative. I mean, they probably don't understand. Like, you're gay. Like, you're coming out. What was that like? When did that happen? Like, and what was that like?
Yes.
When did you realize for yourself?
Yes. Honestly, when I was in an elementary school, that's when I noticed I was gay. I was dating girls at the time, but it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel correct at all because I was looking at other guys. I was like, what is this feeling? Like, it's a weird feeling, but like I'm not into girls. I'm like, I don't know if I'm bisexual or if I'm gay or straight or I felt lost at that time. And then high school came, and it felt pretty much the same. Like I still questioned myself every single time I was there. I was bullied a bit just because it was a rumor that happened about me. It didn't go for too long, but it was a rough experience. And then college came, and you know what? College, it was probably the best time of my life. Like I let myself go. I made amazing friends there. They supported me. Still during that time, I never told my parents or anybody that I was gay. So when I started doing drag,
When you were like 23.
23, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like I wanted to tell my parents, but I still wasn't ready. And then one of the shows that I did, I think it was maybe a year ago or 2 years ago. My brother knew I was gay a while back. I didn't have to tell him; he kind of knew.
Was he gay or was he like straight?
Oh, he's straight.
He's
yes,
straight, okay,
yes.
okay. So you kind of had like he had the understanding, but you never spoke about it with your brother.
Exactly. Yes, it was. Yeah, I never spoke about it, but he did ask me like, "Oh, you like to play with makeup or like you dress differently?" I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't have to tell him, but he understood very well. But yes, about a year ago or 2 years ago, he wanted to come to one of my shows at the Rec Room. I wasn't hosting at that time. It was a different host. And we brought a headliner from RuPaul's Drag Race at that time. And my brother was like, "Oh, is it okay if I bring mom?" I was like, "Oh, you can, but she doesn't know like what's happening right now. And then my brother's like, "Yeah, I think it'll be fine. Just do what you gotta do. Just have fun, and I'm sure she'll enjoy the show." And then, I was performing on the stage, and then I see my mom front row, just handing out a tip for me, and she was looking happy. She was recording with her phone. I was like, "Oh my god, that's so amazing!" And then after the show, she's like, "Oh, you look like you had so much fun. I'm very proud of you." And then she was like, "I was about to tip you, but I didn't know if it was you or not because of the makeup. But yes, I'm very proud of you. You should be very proud of yourself too. And I I am sorry that I wasn't there as a mother, because I know you've gone through a lot." And it just made me cry because I never told my mom about my sexuality. I was just very afraid because, Asian culture, like, we don't talk about those things. And I'm scared that she would either not understand and probably abandon me or be mad at me for the rest of her life. But until she saw me perform, having fun, and she kind of understood what I was going through at that time as well. So seeing her front row, smiling, just being my number one fan, it means a lot to me. It warms my heart a lot. So yeah.
That's very fascinating. So she just she just had a cold immersion and she was fine. Like it was almost like she jumped into an ice bucket and she was like, I'm
Exactly.
cool with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
Were you expecting that kind of reaction, or were you expecting a bit more like, oh man, like you just made me like I'm disappointed and all that? Were you
Yeah.
expecting that conversation?
I was kind of expecting that, because she's gone through a lot as well in her life. Yeah, so I didn't want to put another baggage on top of another baggage that she was going through. So I was like, let's just keep it quiet. I didn't know she was gonna come, so yes, I expected a different outcome, but yeah, she's amazing.
That's awesome. So since then, you were like more confident, I assume, right?
Yes.
Were your dad around at the time, and was he supportive as well, or
Sorry about my mom.
your dad?
Um, he's not really in the picture at the right now. How do I say this? They went through a divorce. So I didn't tell my dad much about my life. All he knew that was like, I moved out of the house. I didn't really speak to my dad that much because he was doing his thing. I was doing mine. My mom was doing her own thing. So right now, like, divorce papers are signed and stuff like that. He has a new family, which I totally respect. But yeah, I don't speak to my dad at all, so he doesn't really know anything about my life.
Going back to what you were saying, that one of the reasons that kind of like led on to your brother understanding it was you playing around with makeup, and all that stuff, right?
Yes.
Now, I mean, before this conversation, I had like one friend. He's bisexual. His name is Babak. But I mean, we never got a chance to go in detail. So I mean, for my curiosity, for my understanding, when you say like when you say in terms of sexuality being gay, what's portrayed typically in media is always flamboyant, right? Like playing
Yes.
around with makeup. But I've also seen people who are not flamboyant,
Right.
right? They so-called, when you look at them, they would be like straight male, right?
Right.
So is it is it always flamboyant, or is it like, I mean, there's both kind. It's just personality. It's not like always flamboyant. It's just
Yeah.
How's-
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Like, people expect a gay person to be very flamboyant, like you said.
Right.
Very flamboyant, very different, wearing different clothes. But there's so many people that, like, they act straight, but they're gay or bisexual. So I think that's when people kind of get confused of like, well, you don't look or sound gay at all. Why are you gay? So they try to paint that kind of picture of like, okay, we're supposed to be flamboyant. We're supposed to wear different kind of clothes. We're supposed to act this way. So that's where the problem or an issue comes from, where people do get confused. And there's people that I know who act very not flamboyant, who are gay as well. And for me, I did not expect that at all from them, because I was like, I asked the same question, like, wow, you don't act like you don't act gay at all. And that's where we cannot judge a book by its cover, kind of thing. Especially like in the younger generation, like, people do hide the fact that, they're very different. They want to hide their sexuality, so they had to act a certain way. So I could see why they think like, oh, they're not gay because they act so,
Manly or
athletic or
yeah,
built
yeah.
or something like that. And then after high school, after college, they come out as gay. I was like, oh, okay, I did not
Interesting.
expect that. But yeah, I could see both ways, but people shouldn't judge like that. So
But in your show, like when you just exaggerate the tone and all that stuff and say something along the lines of "bitch," period, and also like something along the lines of, I think midway through, you're, yeah, I just just stay awake until 3 a.m. and have my fast food. You're just playing into the stereotype, right? Like that's almost like a self troll at that point, right? It's
yes,
not like yeah,
yeah. When I do host, I do get nervous. So I
yeah,
say things that like come out of my head. I say
right,
things on the spot. And yeah, I just try to be funny that I
yeah.
am because out of like when I'm in drag or out of drag, like if I'm like backstage or anything like that, like people don't see me. So like I, I don't make jokes like that at all. So,
Right.
so when I'm on stage, I feel like, okay, let's, play with the audience a little bit. So
So you're almost in a different character where you just like go and give it all.
exactly.
But,
Yes.
but like backstage, you're just a normal, regular person. Like that's not the way you talk. It's just the reason probably I had that like that thought in my mind is because I'm just seeing the drag show for the first time,
Yes. Yes.
and like you see a lot of stuff on social media, right? And you just come out and then it's just like on point with the stereotypes. But that's you playing around with it.
Exactly,
That's
yes.
not how you live, or that's not in the backstage, right?
Yeah. Like if I'm like back home, like, cooking something or watching TV, I'm not going to be like, yes, you better work, bitch. Like, period.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do that for fun,
Yeah.
but, for hosting like my job, like that's how I engage my audience. And like, I want them to have fun. I want them to feel like, they're part of the family or community. And I want them to feel safe as well.
Got it. Do you see like the popularity or like the people coming out for these shows, like are they increasing, or are they in general increasing? More people are coming out watching the shows.
Yes, I see the numbers increasing. At first, we just started our entertainment company called Phoenix Black Entertainment a year ago. And, obviously we're going to start rough. And then the more shows that we put, the more the more people that come, which is amazing. And especially with the London community, there's just always so many shows happening here. So sometimes they do overlap. Not every show is going to be perfect in base of the numbers or the amount of people that do come. We do have like maybe 56 people that come or 60 people that come, which is like the most that we ever had. Unless we bring a headliner that come in, we probably get more than 100. And then our lowest would probably be like half of that, like 30 or something like that. So we do have ups and downs, but we do see a significant increase of the amount of people that come in.
Got it. The people, like you had like 6 different people for the show last Friday. Was it 6 or 5? Was it 5?
I believe there was 5.
5.
Yes.
And all 5 were gay men. The or
So some of them are gay men, some of them are trans,
okay.
and then one of them is a woman dressed up as a drag queen.
Yes, I think that's the one with the British accent, right?
The one with that one is a trans.
She's okay. Got
Yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah. So okay, and then the one, which one was the woman?
So the smaller, cuter one.
Oh, the Barbie.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so like me and my the girl that I'm seeing right now. Like we both came out for the show.
Yes.
We were sitting down and we were watching it, and we couldn't figure out. It was nuts. Like we were like, this is on one end, like we understand this is a drag queen show, but the way you put the costume, it's just so hard to say, especially
Yeah.
with some of the costumes.
I know what you mean.
Is
Like-
that part of the process? Like you guys just like, I don't know. It's just perfection. Like you
thank
do
you.
look like eccentric women on
Thank
stage.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, everyone's very different. We have I showcase not just drag queens, but we do showcase drag kings, drag things, and
What's drag king? What's the difference?
so drag king they dress up as men.
Interesting.
Yes, yes. So like Drag Race, they only showcase drag queens, and people do get, I'm gonna say, a bit brainwashed just because there are drag kings out there that they also show the amount of effort that they put into their work. So drag kings they dress up as men. So like drag queens we dress up as women.
Right.
Drag kings they dress up as men. and it's just amazing and beautiful to see. So we also want to showcase that side of the drag world. We also have like drag things, and then we have alternative as well.
Drag things. So you would dress up as an object, so to speak.
So they don't drag things that they don't really identify as a drag king or a drag queen. They're like in the middle, and they're very diverse in their drag. So they could dress as anything as they want to be. They can combine the drag king and the drag queen element together. So it's very different, but it's actually really cool when you see it. The costume and the makeup, it's so cool. And then we do have alternative where it's very similar, but it's more of a rough around the edges and very rock and roll, a bit scary, which I do love. But yeah, there's so many like diverse kind of drag performers out there.
Interesting. So, okay, so I mean, the whole drag culture, it's not just limited to LGBTQ though. Like, it's straight men could dress, right?
Oh yes, definitely yes. It's open to everybody.
So what's the like you said, like in your case, you didn't feel. I mean, you felt something was off up until you started doing this, and then you realized, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. This is what I want to do. This gives me some sort of happiness, right?
Yes.
What's that happiness like? Why do people get into this? And if someone were to get into this, what's in it for them, basically?
Yes. The reason I do drag right now is just like you said, like empowerment, confidence, confidence building, and yeah, I do believe that it gives us a boost of life. I do this because it's a way of me to branch out to the younger generation to pretty much be themselves, be their authentically true self. Yeah, like I said before, like when I'm out of drag, like I don't feel as confident as I am in drag. And I want to inspire others and motivate others that you can dress up as anything as you want. Be gay, be straight, be lesbian, whoever you want to be. Just stay true to who you are. And I want to give those voices that feel like they are not heard as well.
Got it. Now coming back to if I can ask you like a sort of controversial but fun
Yes,
question.
of course, yes.
With the LGBTQ community, right?
Yes.
I mean, like I've seen a lot of parades and things like that, and it's them coming out and basically having a community for themselves.
Yes.
And as long as they're not as long as just like any other movement, as long as it's not bothering someone else, it's fine, right?
Exactly, yes.
Like the world is for everyone to express themselves and do whatever they want to do.
Yes.
But like one of the controversial topic that recently came out, not a lot in Canada, but in States, was the fact that some textbooks had some, like this is like very elementary school textbooks had some depictions of oral sex and things like that. And they were pertaining to LGBTQ community, and they said it's due to the influence of LGBTQ community. Like, do you have a take on that? Like, have you ever thought about it? Do you think that's right? Or, what's your stand on something like that?
Yeah, I did think about that quite a bit. Like here also in Canada, like there's like protesters every time. Like I do have protesters at my Rec Room shows as well. Thankfully, last Friday we did not have any.
So protesters against whatever you're doing.
Exactly. Yes.
Right, okay.
Yes. Them saying like drag is not for kids. Da 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 da. But yeah, I pretty much face that like all the time, and like these protesters and the posts that they make on social media and stuff like that. But yeah, I just want to tell people that like, we're not offending or we're not hurting anybody. There's no like injury problem that like we're not hurting anybody. Like I'm simply trying to exist in my true self, whether it's in or out of drag. And we are here just to support one another and give each other the love that they deserve, because someone at home may not feel the same love when they're at a drag show or at a place where they feel safe. For example, if they feel like they're unsafe at home, they don't know where to branch to. They don't know where to reach to. So I feel like it's up to us to like, we not only educate, but we try to motivate, inspire the younger generation or anyone pretty much, that they feel like they're unsafe in their own space, and that we as performers within the LGBTQ plus community are there to support each other, give love, and be here no matter what.
Interesting. So, okay, so in your case, you realized it when you were a kid, there was something off, but then you validated that thought when you were into your 20s,
Yes.
early 20s, right? And
Yes.
at that point, you're a fully grown adult,
Yes.
and then you made that choice for your life, right?
Yes.
And unfortunately, everyone around your life also, I mean, everyone that mattered supported you with it.
Yes. Yes.
And then from then on, you've come to a point where you're hosting your own entertainment show, and whatever you choose to do, it's not only being in awareness, or it's also being productive for you,
Exactly. Yes.
right? Now, in some cases with kids who are not a fully grown adult yet, do you see it's just better to not push them on either way, just let them be, and then maybe make that decision after 18,
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they're little kids, like, they're trying to like figure themselves out, like who they are, and it could be a confusing stage where, like I said, like when I was smaller, like I didn't know who I am, I didn't know what I was doing with my life, and then they also live in a household where the parents or whoever they live with teach them to be a certain way. So it's very hard to be thoughtful in your own mind self that, okay, well, my parents taught me to be this way. Should I respect my parents' request or mission to stay like this so I don't hurt them or give off like a bad reputation to our family? So of course the smaller kids, they will question themselves totally. But I think as they grow older, they'll see more media and more of what they see outside of their home. There's so much more out there. So
Fair enough. Now, in that, right, like exactly what you said, during that phase, like it's not just sexuality that's being challenged, though, right, with kids.
yes,
As in, if their parents have limiting beliefs about, forget about sexuality, like about life in general, right?
yes,
Especially for Asian kids, right? The parents might believe there's only two ways to go, either a doctor or engineer. That's also a limiting belief. It has nothing to do with sexuality.
exactly.
It has everything to do with what you want to do with your life.
Absolutely.
Maybe the kid is an artist, he can be a beautiful painter, but they limit him from, hey, listen, we want you to be a doctor or engineer, drop your paintbrush, come here,
Very that, yes.
put your head between two books and just go at it, right?
Yes.
But then the kids, after, like, once they have the freedom, which happens typically around age 18, right?
Yes.
Either if you're still living under their roof, they probably will have some influence on you.
Yes.
Or you choose to say, hey, listen, I just want my freedom. I'm gonna pay my bills. I'm out of here, right?
Yes.
And then they fight for that, and then they achieve that, right?
Exactly. Yes.
Now, isn't that how it has to go with, like, even with sexuality too? The kids could do that, right?
yeah.
They could fight for it after,
Exactly.
You're
Like
right.
like you said, like they're living under their roof at the young age,
Right.
obviously. But then like as they grow, you want your own freedom too.
Correct.
Yes.
So even if it's not like, even if they are sort of putting you down and, like, not letting you be who you are, whether it's sexuality or things that you want to do, kids could come out of that.
Yes. Yes.
And either of, like, but at the end of the day, the parents have that control, right? Like, if you were to have a kid, you have the control over the kid, how to raise the kid, right?
Right. Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Yeah. Yeah. Like obviously, like, with every child, including myself, back then, like you were told to pursue a different career or like a career that you don't really want to do, like you said, like a doctor or even a lawyer, instead of being an artist or a drag artist or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to come out of that because you want to respect your parents, but you don't want to lose yourself as well. And yeah, coming out of that was a little difficult just because, like, you can't satisfy every single request from your parents.
True.
But yeah, what obviously, like when you're a child, like you're told not to do this, you have to be that, and it makes you want to get out more. Like you want to take more risks and do what you want to do. So that was kind of like what I went through. Like they wanted me to be either a doctor or something that doesn't require any creativity in my life. So then I eventually moved out of around 18 or 19, and I had more freedom. Obviously, like I do think about my parents here and there and what they said, but I also want to pursue my happiness as well.
So, so true. And don't you think that resistance which you got as in early life, that kind of built your character a bit more stronger?
I think it did, absolutely. Like they gave me, discipline. They gave me, tough love, I would say.
Yeah.
And I never understood why they did that, but now I know why.
Tell me a little bit more about like a day in your life, not only as a gay man but also as a drag queen. Like, how does it typically go? Like it's not an everyday thing.
I know.
I wouldn't ask that question to a Shoppers Drug Mart clerk. There's nothing wrong with that thing, right? But that's more regular, right? Their days are. Your days are going to be. I'm assuming your days are going to be more interesting than that, right?
Yeah. So if I'm not doing drag, I do sew a lot of my stuff as well. I went to fashion design at Fanshawe College for 3 years.
Oh, nice.
Like this, I made this little costume for myself.
Very interesting.
Thank you. But yeah, I went for school for 3 years, and drag is very expensive. So you have to buy the makeup, you have to buy the hair, costumes and fabric. Like there's so much like investment you have to put in. So yeah, it's difficult, but you have to make it work. So for me, like making my own costumes is gonna cost less than buying a custom made costume from somebody else. So I do that. I don't have an interesting life out of drag. So, I watch Netflix. I walk the dog. I clean the house, and then obviously like, there'd be a time where like, I'll schedule like future shows at the Rec Room or anywhere else. What kind of theme I want, the cast members I want to select, and then do all like the business numbers, which I'm not great at, but I'm doing my best. But yeah, that's kind of like what my everyday life looks like.
So it keeps you busy. Seems like
It does, yes.
it's not like you have a lot of free time on your hand.
No,
You have
unfortunately
to.
not.
So when there's no show, you have to plan for a show.
Exactly.
And then you have a show. Then you have to
Exactly.
plan for a show.
Exactly.
So it's back and forth between those two.
A back and forth kind of thing. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
interesting. But like, is that? I mean, the show's enough for you to like does that provide you enough livelihood?
It does, yes. I do this full time. Before I used to work a full time job in retail, and I did drag part time. And eventually I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take a risk and do drag full time. If it doesn't work out, then maybe I'll just find a different job or just a part time job in general. But then I started, maybe it was like a month after, like I make quite money, good money, quite, the numbers were high in my bank. So, and I do have a drag manager, I would say. He helps me with my finances too, which is nice. But, there'll be other days where like there's pretty much like no drag gigs. So I'm like struggling a little bit. So that's why I make costumes on the side for others. I commission others. So that's good as well. But yeah, there's many good days, but there's some bad days as well.
Now, most of your audience, I assume, it's going to be from LGBTQ community,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then the secondary audience is going to be a ton of women, I assume.
Yes.
Because the girl who came with me, she had more fun than I did. Right? And like how do you grow your audience beyond that? Like, is it? I mean, I assume one part is awareness, and like, how else did you? Because for a man, right? Like, if I were to give you my open feedback, right? For me, it was spooky. Some of those ballet performers were like freaking. Like, it just took me out of my seat, and I was so involved in their act. Like when there was this, I think the tallest drag queen out of all.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah, her first act was a ballet where she was just lip syncing with an act.
Yes.
That was just so mind blowing, right? I've never seen a ballet or like a drama performance before, so this is very, very interesting. I was very
Yes.
engaged in that show, right?
Yes.
But when a drag queen comes out with something like a bikini or something, right? I'm a straight man, right? So so it grosses me out a little bit, and I hope you don't mind. Like I'm just
No
sharing
worries.
with you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and also the other part in my mind goes like, where did the penis go?
Oh.
You know, like how is this a man? Is this a woman? You know, so yeah, where does the penis go?
Oh my
It's just, yeah,
God.
it's just, I'm sorry
Well,
to put you.
no,
So I
no,
had
that's
that
okay.
question all along.
No worries at
Yeah.
all. So it goes in the
If it's a secret, you don't have to tell me. It's
No, that's
like a
okay.
magician, like keeps us.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah.
It goes like, in the bag, so it goes like in the junk in the trunk, kind of speak.
Oh.
And we do the tape. Some people do the tape. We do have like a panty that like hides everything together. For me, I do perform a lot, so I do a lot of like flips and
Yeah,
splits
that's
and
what I'm
stuff like
saying.
that.
Doesn't it hurt?
It hurts a little bit, but
Yeah.
you'll get used to it. It does
Okay.
feel numb afterwards, so you don't feel a thing. But yeah, sometimes it does hurt when you're just like standing still or you're just sitting down. Um, yeah, that's kind of where it goes in the back.
All right. Okay. Do you so coming back to growing your audience?
Yes.
How do you think that's going to happen? Do you see the possibility of more people coming out for these shows? What do you think is going to happen? Is it going to be more from the people's perspective? They're going to be more open-minded, or is it going to be more from the show perspective? You're going to make it more accessible to all kinds of people. Like, have you ever thought about that?
I do. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Every time, every show that I do for a monthly basis, I try to fit what kind of theme I want. So obviously for October, last Friday was a Halloween theme. People were very excited because they love the costumes, they love the avant-garde kind of aspect. But for like months where it's like, let's say it's like September or November, there is kind of no theme. So I try to think of an audience perspective of like what kind of theme do they want? Like if I were and put in their shoes, do they want like an 80s theme? I do love an 80s theme, or a disco theme, or something else that I think they will enjoy. So I do listen to their requests. I will post maybe a story on Instagram saying, okay, for future references or like in the new year, what kind of theme do you want? My audience are like in their 30s or even their 20s. So I try to like keep up with the trends, but trying to like meet their expectations as well. And for the cast members, when I do select, I want to select a diverse kind of speak. So like, yeah, we do have like ballad queens where they serve you the look and the emotion of the song, and then you do have drag kings where they'll show you a different perspective other than a drag queen. So it will open people's mind of like there's just not just drag queens, but there's also drag kings as well. And then there are other people where they'll give you a camp kind of number. So what that is like they'll give you a number where you would never see from a normal perspective. So I have this queen in London. I hire her sometimes. I'm not sure if I could say her name, but she's an Asian queen.
Okay.
If she does listen to this, you'll know. But she is one of my good friends, and she is, I would say, so dumb when she does her numbers because she'll give
So
you.
is he a trans, straight man, or
They are a gay man.
gay man? Okay,
Yes.
yeah,
They are Asian as well, Chinese.
All right.
Um,
But yeah, she identifies as she, basically, or no?
so she in drag.
Yeah, she in drag. Okay.
Yes,
so when
exactly.
So when you refer to a drag queen, you go by she.
Exactly.
All
Yes.
right, got it.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, she'll deliver like very campy numbers. She'll be like, I don't know, she'll put like fart effects in her music, or like she'll give you the funniest like number you'll ever see in your life. Like for me, like I just do performance or I'll do a ballad. I would never do something like that. So it's
Right.
very good to have someone that can deliver something that's very different for the audience. And I don't want people to just have their mind just cater in one type of performance. I want them to broaden their expectations as well.
Yeah. And it's and then I think you had like at least per person there was like 3 different acts last time, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you kind of like try to diversify it act by act.
Exactly.
So
yes.
let there be something which is like a fast number, like maybe a hip hop, sort of like dance steps,
Yeah.
break dance, and then let there be something like a ballet dance, like which is more slow paced but more like more emotions.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it. So that's the way you're trying to capture more audience.
Yes.
Have you seen like, do you see the numbers are growing, or is it coming down? Like, where do you, or is it just staying where they are at?
Obviously from the beginning, I would say our numbers would be in the 30s in the beginning. It was good, but it was like very low for us. But as soon as we got more experience within the entertainment business, we saw the numbers growing. We also saw that we do our shows either a Friday or a Saturday, so we were trying to see which days work best for us. So right now we do see Fridays work best for us. Um, and obviously, like, my target audience is around their 30s, because I'm 30 as well. So I do like to engage with the audience, and I do try to, like, talk to them, put them on the spot if they're comfortable with it. And that's how I communicate, and that's how they come back to my shows. And those people, like, if they have friends, well, I hope they have friends, if they have friends, family, they can bring them to the show as well, so my audience numbers will grow as well.
So, yeah, because you're not repeating a show either, right? So the next one is not going to be about Halloween. It's going to be something else.
It's gonna be something else. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it kind of grows. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, did you ever have like any funny stories associated with it, like being a drag queen, like going around? Any any stories where, like, stereotypical, like, just got burst out, and, like, or
Oh
some
my god.
funny encounters?
There's just a lot of, like, because well, for me, I love to give, like, the woman fantasy. So I like to dress, sexy with a bit of edge, looking beautiful as well. And I love to perform. So obviously there'll be, like, I know it happens to other people too. There'll be, like, either straight men or just men in general. They'll, come up to us and be like, "Oh, what's your name?" I'll be like, "My name is Aria." Trying to, like, entertain with them too. Just for me, I don't like to be rude. I don't like to be, like, I'm a nice person. I'm a very sweet person. So I keep the conversation going, and I try to keep it short so I can, like, get away from them. They're trying to get my phone number, or, like, I'll see you, I'll see you after the show. I was like, you know what? I'll make my way to the change room, and I'm not going to ever see you again.
So straight men hit on you
Sometimes,
so,
yes.
That's funny.
And they do hit on others as well.
But they know you're drag queens, right?
They do. That's the thing, because, like, they love to look at us, and it's like, oh, that's a woman. I know they're a drag queen, but I love to talk to them and do other things afterwards. But that's usually happen at nighttime, so it's very late. They're drinking, and they just want to get out of reality just a little bit. So they just they want to talk to us, and sometimes like, I like to keep the conversation going, but most of the time I'm like, what, I'm out of here. I don't get paid enough for this.
Just to see how it plays out.
Exactly. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that's hilarious. Yeah, it's I didn't think that would happen.
Yes. Or sometimes, like, not just the Rec Room shows, but any other show other than my company, there'll be, we have your bachelorettes, or the women who are, like, getting married. They love to celebrate. They love to go to a drag show. This doesn't happen to all of you, but most of y'all, they get drunk. When they get drunk, they get drunk. So they see us perform on stage, and they will get on stage with us without our permission. So it's like, this is my moment. It's not your moment. Like, I know you're celebrating your wedding or stuff like that, but just get off the stage, be nice, be well mannered. So we'll have, like, things like that happen as well.
What do you think it is about, like, women actually liking it, whether they're straight or otherwise?
Yes.
Why do you think women like it a lot more than guys? Because even I spoke to a friend before showing up for your show, and he was saying, yeah, my wife and mom loves drag shows. Why do you think, like, women like it a lot more? Is it like more of them being eccentric on the stage? Like, is that, do they get, like,
Yeah.
crazy?
Honestly,
Even, like, my other friend, when I texted her asking, hey, do you want to go with me, right? And she was like, yeah, I'd love a drag show, but, like, I'm busy this weekend, so she didn't end up coming, right?
Yeah.
The girl who I was with,
Yes.
she had a great time.
Oh, good.
So what is it, like, why do you think they like it a lot?
I honestly don't know. I think women, like, how do I say this? Like, they see them in us, I think, like because we dress up as women or any kind of aspect of drag, they love the entertainment aspect of how we do on stage. So I know a lot of women, they love RuPaul's Drag Race. They watch it on TV all the time. So they're like, oh, I want to go to a drag show and stuff like that. But yeah,
So for them, it's sorry. Go on.
no,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah.
But for men, I feel like they try to be more mindful, be more open to the idea of us dressing up a certain way to perform on stage. And to me, to me, I think it's a weird thing. But for men, I know they watch like a lot of sports on TV or just like maybe dramas on TV. But I think the drag thing is kind of new to them. I would say. But I know a lot of them, they try to branch out and be more open to the idea of like, you know what, this is actually very entertaining, like kind of thing. But yeah, women, it's not a weird thing, but I feel like they feel like they're feeling entertained.
So it's just a whole act, right? Like, so let me take a stab at it. So
Yes.
the whole act is almost like an art,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes, yes.
Right? Like there was this one British accent. Sorry, I don't remember
That's okay.
her name.
Lilith.
Lilith.
Yes.
She said she designs it herself, right? And there was this one green dress. It was just
Oh, yes.
magnificent. That show was amazing.
Oh, yes.
I like the ballet shows. It's
Yes.
slower and nice pace, right?
Yes.
And so the whole thing is an art. She had a poster behind her with the same costume.
Yes.
That looked amazing.
Oh, thank
She
you.
was on the stage. The whole act was on point.
Oh, yes.
Right. So with women, do you feel like it's very feminine? The whole show is very feminine. The drag queen, right? Women almost like went away from like feminine. They are with all this other stuff. They wanted to be more like men, and I cannot find another show where a real woman performs like you guys with all the eccentricities and like the femininity. I cannot
Yes.
go to I would love to go. I mean, like there's strip clubs, but it's not the same,
Right.
Like your show is like much more content driven. It has more substance to it,
Yes. Yes.
right? So I cannot go to a show with substance where a woman like shows her feminine angle with all the eccentric things that she can pull. But your show delivers exactly that. Do you think more women deep inside wants to be more feminine and be eccentric, but like they're kind of like, no, this is a different generation. We're trying to be like, working women. Like, do you think that there's a slight, hint of that involved?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah, I know there's like very like few of them that I know like they are like women who do want to do drag as well, and they feel like they can't because they see the negatives outside of they see it in the reality that like, well, you're supposed to be a man, not a woman, trying to be a drag queen. So that's part of their mindset, and we're just like, you could be whoever you want, as like whatever gender you are, it doesn't matter. Anyone could be a drag queen, whether you're a woman, a man, or anyone in between. Like, yeah, like there's so many people that I know who are women who do think like that in a negative space. But I was like, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man. Like, you do you. If you want to do drag, do drag. Like, if you feel happy when you do drag, do that, because that's how you get far in life. And doing drag, regardless of gender, it will feel very very true to who they are.
Yeah, because I could see like when I was there, like when I was sitting in the audience, I could see like tons of this whole space was maybe 85% women, and they were having a great time.
Yes, yes.
They were laughing there,
Yes.
laughing so loud and all that. Anything else? Any other like funny instances where other than like guys trying to hit on you and trying to get your number? Anything else that you run into? Like
we do we do have like protesters sometimes, so we try not to interact with
so
them.
these are people who are extremely conservative, who doesn't like the idea of LGBTQ or the drag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Saying like very homophobic stuff, and drag is not for everybody, and they do this pretty much almost every show. I'm surprised that they didn't come to the one on Friday. But yeah, there's instance where they just they love to yell, they love to get in your face, but I don't pay much attention to them, and I tell the others to like don't do anything, just keep walking, and because if you give them energy, you're giving them the power to do so, and they will fight back as well. But also, we do need to be aware of who we interact in terms of the protesters. It is very scary, but I want people to know that we are within the LGBTQ plus community. We are here to support one another, because there's so many like bad things. There's so much going on in the world, and like we're just trying to simply exist within our own skin, and I just want people to feel the safest. This I want them to feel safe in their own space.
Interesting. So you, I mean, your community, the ones you have built, has a more mature take on the whole thing compared to what we typically experience in TV, right? Like, where they go after the protesters. And then, I mean, it kind of looks very bad on them, right? It almost looks like they're fighting a bit too much on the TV, right? But you're like, no, we're just going to be more mature. We're just going to walk away. We're not going to engage in such things. That's your take.
Yeah. I do also see that it's good to fight back and like make our voices heard as well, because it will show that they're not the only ones in power. We are in power as well, and we want to tell them that we are here to exist within our own skin, and we don't want to go back to where we started back in the day, where they look down on us, and like there's so many bad things happening, like I said, and it's just we want to be heard as well. And there is a balance of fighting back and making our voices heard, and also like, okay, maybe we should just walk away, keep doing what we have to do, but trying to like show it out to their faces that like, okay, we are here, we are queer, we're not going anywhere, so deal with it, kind of thing.
Now, it has come a long way, right? Like, you don't necessarily have to face like what you would have maybe 20 years ago. Things have changed a lot.
Oh,
I
yes.
assume, right?
Absolutely, yes.
It's
yes.
not crazy anymore.
It's not crazy like what it used to be, but there's still things to be learned and need to be fixed, but we are so much better. We're so much in a better spot now.
Fair enough. Now, do you also believe in like drawing a line, as in, like, I'll give you an example, right? So for instance, there were some stories, I don't know if this was cooked up stories. These days you cannot believe, like, if it's a cooked up story or real story.
Yeah.
There was a story where a kid identifies as a cat or a dog, and the teacher sort of encouraged the kid to be the cat or a dog, right?
Right.
Where the kid would make the squeaky sound, or the kid would bark. And the teacher said, that's cool, but the parents were not okay with it. Or sorry, the parents were okay with it. The teacher was not. Like, the kid went to school, and the teacher said, this is an odd behavior, right? And the parent was like, no, my kid wants to behave like a cat, and the kid will behave like a cat.
Yes.
Something like that. Do you think there should be a line drawn there, or that also should be accepted?
Right. I think when I'm trying to think, I see people who are trying to make a mockery out of it, saying like, oh, there's so many like pronouns going on, and I might as well identify myself as a computer or something like that. And I'm just like, you can't compare an object to a human being, because like there's no discussion there. That's like, we are human beings. We identify as he, him, she, her, they, them, anyone in between, non-binary as well, because that's really important, because we don't like, for me, like in drag I go by she, her, out of drag I go by he, him, but there's others who identify as they, them in both drag and out of drag. So it's very it really sucks that like, I know people are trying to be respectful, trying to learn, but there's others where they're not willing to learn at all, but they're trying to make fun of us, trying to say like, oh, I might as well be a computer or a house or a car or something like that. So it's not relevant to compare those two at all. So it does hurt me to see people who do that.
Now, the typical argument they make is they're saying it's a mental disorder. That's how they go, right? Now, that's how they say it, right?
Yeah.
But if you were to break it down for someone like me who doesn't understand the breakdown, so there's LGBTQ. L stands for
Lesbian, and then you have gay, trans, bisexual.
so lesbian is like woman woman, gay would be men and men,
Yes.
and sorry the next
And then
one
bisexual.
which goes like they would go with men and women,
Exactly, yes.
and
And then the plus is anything, pretty much. Yeah.
so when you say anything, like that's where the gray shade is, like that's where they identify as.
Yes, yes. So
So what are some of the typical ones on the plus that you have seen? No, non-binary. What does that?
yeah, so non-binary is you don't identify yourself as a man or a female.
Right.
You identify as somewhere in between.
So biologically, you have organs, but emotionally or your character-wise, you just choose to be fluid.
Yes, yes.
I'm not accepting the social norm of if a man is supposed to have this ABC, I'm not trying to meet those ABC. If a woman is supposed to have this ABC, I'm not meeting that ABC either. I just choose to have a character which is not attached to either of those.
Right.
Is that how it goes?
Kind of, yeah, yeah. When they identify as like a specific pronoun, like they, them, like, or like non-binary, let's say, they don't identify as either a male or female. They're in between. So it's who they are, and it's not really like, I know people think like, oh, it's like a character based kind of thing, but it's who they feel like, and an everyday daily basis. One day you can feel like a man, you do manly things, but other days you'll feel like you feel more like a female or like doing more girly things. So you can't. It's hard to find which one you're at. There'll be some days for me like, there'll be days like I feel more manly. There are other days where I feel like I'm more female, but I still identify as he, him out of drag, and she, her in drag. I know, it tends to be a bit confusing for others who may not be familiar with it, but all we ask is, just respect it, and maybe we can ask questions to each other and try to learn from there as well.
Now that's quite common. Like whatever you just said, like some days you feel like man, some days you feel like feminine, right?
Yeah.
Now that's quite common, right? That's not just for LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
There would be men out there, including myself. Like some days, I just like want to talk to someone, right?
Yes.
Express like what I'm feeling,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
With one of my boys, right? Now that could be characterized as a feminine character. Yet I don't see the need of identifying myself as non-binary, though.
Right.
Like you feel right, so yeah. So in a way, like, do you think they're going out of their way to identify themselves as non-binary, though it's just like quite natural for people to feel on both ends on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be days like, you're still thinking about who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Besides your
You might not,
sexuality.
but you might not question your sexuality at that point.
Exactly.
It's just like it's that day.
Yeah, it's that day. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Go on.
But yeah, like if, for a straight man or a straight woman, there'll be days like, they'll feel like more either manly or more female.
Yeah.
But that's just who you are. Like,
Yeah.
if, like, let's say like a straight person, like, they'll do certain things that,
There might be a husband who doesn't take care of the finance, whose wife probably take care of the finance.
exactly, yes.
Right, or take the lead in the household. There's
Yeah.
probably, like, I do mortgages, and I run into like households where the wives know better, and like I have a full conversation about the mortgage with the wife,
Yes.
not so much with the husband,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
right? But they don't identify as like either or. They're just
Right.
like
Like you can learn, you can
it's
like,
just I'm good at it and I like doing this, so
Yeah.
I do it. Yeah, sorry, go on. Yeah.
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
Or like, some people like they like certain things or like certain shows
Yeah.
or like certain things, like hobbies as well that are not typically in the norm for that gender, but that's what they like and that's who they are, but they don't want to identify as, non-binary or like something else. But that's just what they like, and people shouldn't judge that at all.
So you're saying that should go both ways. So some people choose to identify, some people don't choose to identify.
Yeah.
But if they choose to identify, do you think other people, like, let's put it this way, if they choose to identify as non-binary, do you think they're entitled for other people to respect whatever they choose to identify themselves as, or it's just up to the person who's calling them whatever?
Yeah.
What's your take? What's your personal
Yes.
take?
Like, let's say, like, if I'm non-binary, um, you know, people do make mistakes, and they'll call you like, oh, she is going this way, or
Based on the looks.
based
right?
on the look, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like if I'm out of drag, it'd be like, oh, he is this. You can correct them, obviously, and they'll apologize or whatnot. And if hopefully they'll are able to willing to learn and ask questions and whatnot in a respectful way. But yes, that's what my thought is. Yeah.
So it's almost like, my name is Spenson, but you choose to call me Spencer. Hey, my name is Spencer. I correct you 3 times. You still call me Spencer. I choose not to engage with you. I just walk away. Similar, is it?
It's quite similar. Yes, yes. Yeah, if they call me a different, like a name calling, if you, correct them like numerous times, then like, what's even the point, kind of thing. Just try to like educate them, but not to like respectfully as well. But if they make a lot of mistakes and like repetitively, continuously, the same mistake, then there's no point.
Yeah, if it's intentional, that's a different. And
Intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
They, them, like, what's the logic behind that? I never, again, this is for my understanding, right? So they, them, what's the logic behind calling themselves they, them? What's the idea behind that?
So it's pretty much like the same, almost the same as non-binary.
Right.
They don't identify as either or. It's just they, them. It's in the middle kind of thing. Yeah, it's pretty much very similar to that. Yeah.
Similar to non-binary.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
got it. Now coming back to what we were talking about, so as far as being flamboyant is a nature of gay men, or is it a nature?
Yes.
And then it's a natural nature, but people resist that and pretend to be not that.
Exactly.
Is that how it goes?
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Most of the time, yes.
So they are supposed to be flamboyant, or the natural way of executing is being flamboyant, but being worried about being judged or not wanting to come out, they just try to maintain this facade.
Exactly. Yeah.
As
like-
far as you understand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people are, mostly gay men, we are more flamboyant. But like you said, like we try to hide that energy from other people just in case, they question us, and like they're like, they don't respect that we are gay. So we try to hide that thing, and we try to act more butch or more straight. But yeah, there are others that, they don't really act flamboyant, and we don't question them at all. And, they turn out gay or bisexual, and they still act, they're not flamboyant. I'm like, oh, I guess there's just different categories or different realms of how you portray as gay or bisexual.
Now on your front, right? Like, so, like on my end, like since I'm a straight man, like, when I typically see a girl, like if I'm attracted to, I have, I get feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like for you, do you have like ways where you go like, okay, this is, do you feel for everyone, every good looking guy, and like, do you kind of like have some sort of sensors to basically say, all right, this is a straight man, or this is a gay man,
Yes.
How does that work?
I think a lot of gay people, whether you're bisexual or whatever, or
Right.
lesbian, we do have like that gay radar or something
Right.
like that. So when you look at the person, I'm like, okay, this is how they dress, this is how they act, and that's their voice. Okay, so I assume they're gay, and then they end up straight. I'm like, oh my god, like, so like it's very
Oh, so there's flamboyant straight men too.
yes,
So-
yes. So it's like, oh,
great.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
I see you. So it's, that's sometimes I don't question that, because I'm like, I always get it wrong every time.
Right.
But sometimes I do get it right, but yeah.
Is this a feeling very similar? Like, let me be more specific, right?
Yeah.
If there's an attractive female standing like there, right? Like, and it's just a room with me and her, I'm probably gonna be turned on, right?
Yeah.
Right. Like even in like a distance,
Yes.
like 6 feet distance or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Would that happen to you with another man in the room that you find attractive?
Oh yeah, like, if that's sitting one right across the room, I'd be like, okay, like, I look down head to toe what they're wearing, how they act, their voice, their behavior as well, and I'm like, okay, like, and then we start talking. I'm like, okay, it's getting serious up in here. But yeah, I think as a drag queen, as a gay man, like we well, for me, I tend to like find a lot of things attractive, especially working in the drag entertainment industry. There's others where they don't feel like that at all. They just do their job and like go home. I do that too, but sometimes like you trying to engage with the audience a little bit, without going too far. So yeah, of course, I will maybe, if you look at a person without saying anything, I might get turned on.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, so that's very interesting. So you do have that, but at the same time, you have a gaydar, so to speak.
Yes.
But it goes wrong time from
Yeah,
time to time.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, so when you look at someone and then you get turned on, and then yeah, then you have a conversation and then you figure out no, this is not they're a straight man or whatever the case is.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll still talk to them and like stuff like that. But yeah, no judgment at all. But yeah, sometimes I'm like, oh damn, why did I get it wrong all the time?
So when you said like when you are in the show, also you go through this. But coming back to what you were saying, like, is there anything else like that you kind of like see progressing in a way? Like do you see a lot more people coming out these days, less worried, and the whole LGBTQ act and like pushing that message? Did it spread enough awareness to a point now we are like taking it cool?
Yeah, it's getting much better now. Just because like back in like COVID season, like it was a very interesting but bad time of our lives. So after that, there's you can see people's true colors. So like there's a lot of protesters going on, about politics and the LGBTQ plus community. There's just so much hate that I've noticed. So I feel like our job is to make people, our audience, feel more comfortable in our own space, in our space as well. And sometimes I want people to get out of reality, whether they are going through something in life, whether it's work, school, relationships, friendships, or something like that. Whatever is happening in their lives, we put on these drag shows for them to simply get out of reality and enjoy entertainment, but also feel safe within the community that we give them as well. Yeah.
So coming back to what you said before, like you do have natural tendencies to be turned on and all that. The religious perspective, I was raised Christian, Catholic Christian. The religious perspective, a lot of people share that I have conversations with who are extremely conservative, is it's actually a sin, so when we ask, okay, so break that down for me, like when you say it's a sin, what do you mean? Being gay is sin? Then they say, well, it's a sin because it's a heightened version of perversion. They don't have satisfaction from the female, so it's almost like different grade of, they went to a female, then they think about the next level, and over time this went into a form of perversion where they're not satisfied with female, and they started to doing things that are more and more said not to do, which was going ahead with same gender, right? But when you said is basically, if there was a woman sitting like 6 feet next to you, since you're a biological male, you wouldn't be attracted. But if there's a man, like attractive man sitting 6 feet away from you, you would feel turned on, right? So this is not some heightened version of perversion that you have to force yourself into. You just naturally feel it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, as a gay man, like I that's the natural attraction. Like, if I see a good looking man, then, I find that attractive. Same as a straight man or a straight woman. If they feel, they see their opposite sex very attractive, they of course will feel, turned on or something like that. Yeah.
It's not something you have to force yourself into.
No, you don't have to force yourself. No. It's just a natural feeling kind of thing. Yeah.
and that's what you go for. That's what gets you excited.
Exactly.
And the other doesn't get you excited.
Yes, exactly.
And then, like, do you have like friends that are bisexual?
Yes, I do. Yes.
And what about them?
Yes. For them, I'll talk to them, have a strike up
Do you
conversation.
have these kind of conversations where you try to figure it out, like,
Sometimes, yeah.
Because for you, like, you just go one way, which is like gay. Right?
Yes.
You're only attracted to men.
Yes.
You're not attracted to women whatsoever.
No.
But like when you interact with them, they go both ways.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm not familiar with that realm, but I do have conversations with them. They're like, yeah, I feel attracted to both genders. Like I can't pick one or the other. Like I feel like I'm turned on in both genders. I don't have a specific gender that I prefer, and I do understand, and because I'm not familiar with that, I try to like ask questions about like what goes through your head, or like how do you do that? Like how do you date one person and find another gender like attractive at the same time? So it's hard to understand, like, okay, like what if your partner like doesn't trust you because you're attracted to another gender, and they'll explain like they understand like we're attracted to either one specific gender or two of them, and with bisexuality, like it feels more like they have more range or more freedom, that they can be attracted to more than a gender. So that's how they explain that.
And
to
that's natural to them.
It's very natural to them. Yes.
Very interesting. And the only people who are like sort of like not outcast but sort of outcast is like the transgender, right? So because they have to stick within their community, or they have to find someone who's open to being with a transgender.
Yeah. I know someone that they're a trans man, but they are attracted to another man. But there are others where like the trans man could be attracted to a biological woman, and that's totally fine. It's just a natural, again, there's a natural feeling with anybody, really.
Now with transgender, like from my understanding,
Yes.
right? It's not just something they have in their mind. Sometimes they are born with biologically the other sex's organs too, right? Mm-hmm. That's how it works, right? It's very biological, right? Transgender.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not just something they feel, but also their body as well.
Yeah. Like they may not have like the same organs, but they do have like the feeling, and that's who they are. Obviously, maybe they might transition fully, but there are others where they may not afford the surgery or anything like that, but they want to identify as a trans man or trans woman. That's just the base of like the feeling, and that's what they want in life, and that's who they are. Yeah.
But I've also heard some people just are born like that. They would be born with, let's say, they would have a penis, and also they would have, for lack of better words, like tits, for instance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. But yeah, like,
Or breast. Sorry.
yes. Like if, a biological man, they feel like, they're trapped in the wrong body, let's say. And that's probably the worst feeling ever. You're trapped in the wrong body. I sometimes think like, sometimes I feel I'm trapped in my own body as well. I'm like, what if I feel like a female, but I'm scared for all what's going to happen to me and within the trans community. And yeah, there are others where, they really want to transition to their opposite sex, and that is totally fine. And like, no matter what they do to their bodies, like they have the feeling, and that's who they are as that human self, that like their mind and their body and their soul is the opposite sex, and that's who they're going to portray as.
So it's a mix of people who would have like biological, like mixed organs, and also a group of people who feel like they're like a woman trapped inside a man's body, or a man trapped inside.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a group identified as trans.
Yes.
So to speak.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's just like people like ourselves, like who, like I would not to mock anybody. I just like I just like to. I feel like people would be more open to accepting if they're aware of what exactly is going on. Sometimes in the middle of like all this, LGBTQ plus and all the protests and everything, and it's the media goes one way or the other, and then you just alienate the whole awareness aspect of it. You really don't understand
Yeah.
because there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, yes.
Right? It's not like, it used to be easy. Like gays, lesbians, that was just like, okay, two people we need to understand. That's a group of women who like to sleep with women, who doesn't like to sleep with men. And then gay, which is like, group of men who like to sleep with men.
Exactly, yeah.
And then there was the next mix, which is bisexual. Again, easy to understand. And when all the other letters got to it, then you started going, okay, so now it's a bit complicated, right? Especially for someone outside the community.
Right, yes.
Right? Because for someone inside the community, you want to support the community, you want to accept everyone in the community, you want to make them feel safe. For someone outside the community, they don't necessarily have the same feelings about it. But the only way they could accept it is if it makes a logical reason to back it up. Right? Do you feel like that's missing out there? Like, because someone like me, like I have no clue.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. Like, who people who are outside of the community.
Right.
There's others where, they are willing to learn what's going on within the LGBTQ plus community and what they're missing out pretty much. And there's other people where, they are aware that there's a community there, but they're not willing to go out of their way to learn about the community, the LGBTQ plus community. And that's why people are, how do I say this? Like they're stuck in the norm where like there's only like straight people where, men and women should be together. It shouldn't be like mixed up with other genders. But I know there's other people where they're, outside the community, they are willing to learn and go out of their way to, ask questions and be respectful what we go through. They may not understand it, but they are, willing to go through it with us as well.
Do you see a set of people like who are like, okay, so there's a set of people who have faced the real consequences. When I say real consequences, they were bullied for identifying a certain way, right?
Yes.
They had some hard times, and for someone like that, they need the support from a community, like whatever LGBTQ plus community is providing. They need that.
Yes.
Because they have to have something where they feel they belong, right?
Yes.
But at the same time, do you also see some folks, like not folks, like some really cunning people within the group who just wants to feed their self-interest, kind of sort of politicizing it and basically using this as some way, shape, or form for them to, pretend like they are they have a moral high ground. Like what I'm trying to say is there are genuine cases where people are being bullied or where people are facing consequences, and there are also like a group of people who are just like being part of the mission just so they can be part of the mission. Do you see that happening?
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, like myself, like
because you are one person in the community.
yes,
You are someone who faced the consequences. But like part of the reason why a group of media is kind of like bashing at them is because this group of people, they go out of their way to show they support the community. Now they're genuine, which is great, but a lot of times they're not. They're just being there to be there, just to pretend like
I see what you mean.
Yeah. Like for instance, like when I was in grade 9, right? I would quote a bunch of feminist, rules, right? Just to pretend like I respect the rules of the feminism, and just to show off in front of the girls, right? Just as a flex.
I see.
No, I didn't truly mean for whatever I was saying. This was just like an act.
Yeah.
And I grew out of it, and then I had like principles and values, and I realized this is not something I care as much. This is just a phase where I was just trying to get some attention from some female, right?
I see.
Now, like, imagine like some of the people who are like that, but who are pretending like that just to get attention. I mean, they're older. They're not kids anymore. They're older.
Yeah.
Do you see that happening within the community? Trying to take advantage of the momentum you have. And
yeah. Like for example, like we do have struggles. Still, at my age, people are still trying to come out and stuff like that. People get make fun of as well. But yeah, there's others where, you know, they may be part of the community, but it's like it's for them, they just do it because they just feel like it and they think that they're part of the community. But when we're asking like, oh, please support this show might be canceled, or like one of the members of our community got, you know, they got got beat up by another person, and they're not able to, you know, live at their safe space or whatever. And then those people who supported the community just, you know, stayed quiet and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, where's your support in this? Like, where is the noise in this? So I feel like people pick and choose what they want. Yeah.
Just like everything else.
Yes, just like everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But overall, you're in a good space right now.
I'm in a good space. Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyways, any final closing remarks? Did you have a good time?
Yes, I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me here.
No problem.
This is my first podcast. I've never done a podcast in general at all. So
Was it easy?
it was easy. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like having a conversation, just having a friend to converse, and yeah, it was so much fun.
It's awesome. And thank you for educating me.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and thank you for being like I mean like I was genuinely like concerned. How should I word certain things so I don't come across like offensive? And I wanted you to get the intention is always like for me to learn.
Yes.
Like I said, I'm a curious kid trying to learn different things in the world.
Yeah.
That's the angle.
Yes.
But you made it easy.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening and trying to educate yourself as well. So thank you.
Absolutely. Well, let's wrap it.
Yes.
Okay.